"No one marries my kind, but I can bear children," she said. The human veteran's answer shocked her. The station hung quietly in the black of space, like a lonely star anchored to nothing. Its metal corridors hummed with the soft pulse of life support systems. For most, this outpost was nothing more than a checkpoint, a waypoint for cargo ships or mercenaries passing through. But for her, it had been a cage for as long as she could remember. Her name was Velira, and she belonged to a species the galaxy considered useful but unwanted. Strong, loyal, and able to bear children, her kind was often hired, traded, or abandoned, but never loved. She carried the weight of centuries of whispered insults, suspicious glances, and empty promises. In the past, she had tried to hide, to fade into the background. She had mastered silence and discipline, becoming a capable guard on the station. Yet, no matter how perfect her work, no one truly accepted her. Velira walked down the hall, her boots clicking against the metal floor. The other guards nodded politely, but their eyes avoided hers. There was always a tension, an unspoken reminder she was different. She had learned to ignore it, but the loneliness still pressed on her chest. Even in a room full of people, she felt invisible. Today, the station was expecting a visitor. The announcement came through the terminal with a calm, official tone. "Incoming vessel, human, designation, veteran, retired from active combat, estimated arrival 2 hours," the other guards murmured. Humans were rare here, and even rarer was a veteran. Most of them stayed close to Earth or the heavily defended colonies. This human was a stranger, and strangers always brought trouble or opportunity. Velira felt a flicker of curiosity, though she would not admit it. She kept her composure as she finished her morning rounds, checking the security panels and scanning the surrounding space. Everything was in order, nothing unusual. When the human finally arrived, the station's airlocks hissed and groaned. He stepped through with careful, deliberate movements. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and walked with a quiet confidence. His uniform was worn, marked with medals and insignias that told stories she could only guess at. His hair was streaked with gray, but his eyes, clear, intelligent, and sharp, observed everything around him. He noticed her immediately. Velira froze, unsure why. Humans rarely looked at her in a way that mattered. Most looked past her, treating her as if she were invisible. But this one's gaze lingered. There was no pity, no mockery, no curiosity rooted in superstition. Only calm, measured observation. "Greetings," he said in a low, even tone. His voice carried authority but also patience, as if he had learned long ago that rushing often caused mistakes. "I am here to rest. I am told this station is secure." Velira stepped forward, keeping her face neutral. "It is secure. You are welcome here." "I am Velira, head of security." The human nodded once. "Good. I do not require assistance beyond a place to rest and a station officer to inform me of any dangers." Velira wanted to say something sharp, something defensive. She had been trained to keep strangers at arm's length. But something in his presence calmed her. She simply nodded and led him to a small room near the station's central hub. He did not make small talk. He unpacked slowly, methodically, and seemed content with silence. Most would have felt awkward, fidgeting, or asking pointless questions, but he did not. He only waited, observing the station as if taking in every detail. Days passed. The human stayed longer than expected. He helped repair damaged systems, trained young guards, and shared knowledge of tactics that had saved lives in battles she could only imagine. He never spoke about himself, yet he offered lessons without pride or arrogance. Velira began noticing things she had never noticed before. The human treated her differently from the others. He did not avoid her. He did not whisper to others when she entered a room. He stood beside her in public areas without hesitation, as if he had already decided she was worth respect. The other species on the station noticed. They muttered, whispered, and stared. Some avoided her entirely, while others looked to him for cues, unsure if it was safe to continue treating her as less. One evening, as the station's artificial suns dimmed to simulate night, Velira found herself standing in the observation deck. The vast black of space stretched out endlessly, dotted with distant stars. She was not alone. The human veteran was there, quietly gazing at the void. "You know," she said finally, her voice low, "my kind, no one marries us." He turned, tilting his head slightly, studying her. "Is that a problem?" She laughed softly, a bitter sound. "A problem? It is the way things have always been, strong, capable, loyal, but unwanted. They say we are unlucky, dangerous, only useful for bearing children." The human frowned slightly. And you believe that? I have no choice but to believe it, she admitted. Her eyes glistened with unshed frustration. I have seen it my whole life, my family, my friends, even the leaders here. No one marries my kind. They hire us, trade us, or abandon us. But they never, she stopped herself. They never choose us. The veteran was silent for a moment, letting her words sink in. Then he spoke softly but firmly. Velira, do you think your worth is decided by what others believe, or by what you choose? She stared at him, unsure how to answer. No one had ever asked her that. Not a superior, not a friend, not a stranger. Always the galaxy had told her what she was or what she was not. I do not know, she said honestly. Then perhaps it is time someone let you decide, he said, a faint smile touching his lips. Not by their rules, not by their fears, by yours. For the first time in her life, Velira felt something she had not felt in years. A flicker of hope, not pity, not judgment, hope. The days that followed were strange. She caught herself noticing small things. How he respected the youngest recruits, how he spoke calmly even when systems failed, how he never hesitated to correct her when she made a mistake, always with care, never condescension. Then one night, as the station's hum settled into silence, Velira finally said what she had hidden for years. No one marries my kind, but I can bear children. Her voice trembled, though she tried to hide it. I thought, maybe that is all I am good for. The human veteran did not laugh. He did not look shocked. Instead, he stepped closer, his gaze steady and unwavering. Marriage is not about what you can give, he said simply. It is about who you choose to stand with. Her heart skipped a beat. She had expected anger, pity, or mockery. Instead, she found calm certainty and, strangely, courage. You mean, she began, unsure how to speak. I mean, he interrupted gently, that no one else gets to decide your worth, only you do. And if you ever choose to stand beside someone, that is enough. That is everything. Velira could not speak. The walls she had built around herself for decades felt fragile, cracking under the weight of a simple truth. For the first time, she felt seen. Not as a tool, not as a bearer of children, not as someone cursed by myths. Seen. The galaxy outside the observation window continued its endless drift. Stars burned with cold fire, planets orbited silently, and ships passed far away, carrying whispers and rumors of worlds and species unknown. But here in this quiet station, a human and an alien stood side by side. Nothing had changed yet in the galaxy, but everything had changed for her. Velira realized something important. Perhaps being unwanted by the galaxy did not mean she was unwanted by everyone. Perhaps the stories she had been told her whole life were not truths. Perhaps they were lies designed to keep her small, silent, and hidden. And perhaps, just perhaps, someone, a human veteran with no title and no expectation, had already begun to change that. The station lights dimmed further. Outside, the black of space pressed against the hull, endless and infinite. Velira stood there, not afraid, not lonely. For the first time in her life, she felt something powerful, choice. And with choice came hope. The days turned into a week, but nothing about the station had changed, except for Velira. She moved differently now, more aware of her own presence, yet cautious. The galaxy had spent centuries teaching her that she was unwanted, and old lessons die hard. Still, the human veteran, whose name she had learned was Darren, continued to act as if those lessons had no meaning. It was morning when the alarm sounded, a soft chime alerting them to an approaching freighter. Velira glanced at Darren. He was already at the station's tactical console, scanning the ship's readings. His movements were smooth, confident, but precise. A veteran, yes, but also careful. They're not on the registry, he said, voice steady, eyes fixed on the screen. They should be cleared by the outer checkpoint. Someone forgot to verify them. Velira frowned. Do you want me to handle it? Darren shook his head. No. Let's watch. I want to see how they behave. As the freighter drew closer, the station's cameras picked up subtle movements, weapons being readied, crews moving with tense precision. The freighter wasn't hostile yet, but something about it felt wrong. Velira felt the familiar surge of responsibility. She could handle intruders, she had done it before. But now, with Darren at her side, not above her, not beneath her, she felt something she had never felt before, confidence. Not just in herself, but in their partnership. When the freighter docked without incident, Darren and Velira approached the airlock. The crew inside was a mix of species, none of them human. They looked at Velira with the usual hesitation, a mix of fear, distrust, and faint contempt. One of them, a small, winged alien, muttered something under his breath. "You call her your kind?" the winged alien hissed. "They are nothing but breeders, nothing else. Do you truly trust her?" Darren did not hesitate. He stepped forward and fixed the alien with a gaze that made even the toughest crew member shiver. "She is more than you can measure. Stand down, or I will remove you from the station myself." Velira's breath caught. The fear, suspicion, and quiet hatred she had carried for years had been something she thought she had to endure alone. But Darren had refused to see her as anything less than equal. The freighter crew exchanged uneasy glances, muttering words that Velira could not fully understand. Then, reluctantly, they began to unload their cargo without incident. After the freighter left, Velira and Darren returned to the observation deck. She leaned against the glass, staring out into the void. "They don't respect me," she said quietly. "Not really. They see me as expendable." Darren looked at her, expression calm, unwavering. "And yet here you are, standing. You protected this station, handled the crew, and kept everyone safe. They are the ones who are expendable, not you." She shook her head. "You don't understand. My kind, we are always overlooked, always treated as tools. No one stands beside us willingly. Not friends, not leaders, not mates." "And yet I do," Darren said simply. "I am here, I stand beside you, not because you can bear children, not because you are strong, not because the galaxy says you are useful. I stand beside you because I choose to." Her throat tightened. She wanted to argue, to tell him he didn't understand, that no human had ever done this before. But she could not. For once, words failed her, and the silence was not empty, it was full of meaning. The next few days became a routine of strange companionship. Darren helped her train the station's recruits, teaching them techniques for defense and repair. He did not talk down to her or assume she could not handle danger. He treated her as an equal, even when others whispered and watched with suspicion. It was during one of these training sessions that a junior recruit, a young alien named Farnak, asked the question that everyone else feared to say aloud. "Why do you trust her?" Farnak asked, glancing nervously at Darren. She is different. Everyone knows it." "My kind, your kind, they don't fit." Darren's eyes narrowed slightly. "Do you think trust is given based on species, on looks, on rumors, or is it earned?" Farnak hesitated, unsure how to answer. Darren's gaze was steady, piercing even. "I trust her because she has earned it. Not because the galaxy says she should, not because her species is known for anything in particular, because she is capable, loyal, and brave. She has shown me all of this." Velira felt a flicker of pride, but also something deeper, a warmth she had not felt in years. Someone had noticed her for herself, not her usefulness or her perceived weaknesses. That evening, Velira found herself on the observation deck again, staring out at a cluster of stars. Darren joined her, handing her a cup of warm tea, a small gesture, yet surprisingly intimate. "You seem different," he said quietly. "You carry yourself differently. You are lighter somehow." Velira frowned. "Different, I am the same as always." "You are not," he replied. "You carry years of fear and expectation on your shoulders. But I see how you move when no one else is watching. I see how you think, how you care. You are not what they say you are more." She wanted to tell him he was wrong, that the galaxy's judgment was inevitable, but she could not. And for the first time, she did not want to. Days later, a message arrived from a neighboring station. A small fleet of raiders had attacked a transport convoy. Normally, such reports would not concern them, except the raiders were reported to be heading near their sector. Darren's expression remained calm, but his eyes glinted with that familiar, cold fire of a soldier who had seen worse. "We may need to act," he said. "These raiders are not large, but they are well armed, and they will strike at the easiest target." Velira's heart quickened. The station had always been a place of routine, of predictable work. But now, with Darren here, danger seemed like something to meet head-on, not something to fear silently. When the raiders arrived, the station's defense systems detected them almost immediately. Alarms blared, red lights flashed, and the crew scrambled to their stations. Velira stood at the command panel, issuing orders with calm precision. Darren moved beside her, coordinating defenses and providing tactical advice. Together, they became a single unit, human experience, alien skill, unmatched by anything the raiders had anticipated. The fight was swift and decisive. The raiders, expecting an easy target, found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. Velira's strength and precision, combined with Darren's veteran strategy, led to a complete victory. The raiders were forced to retreat, their ships damaged, their morale shattered. After the battle, the crew looked at Valira differently. The whispers of doubt were replaced with respect. Even the youngest recruits who had avoided her before now sought her guidance. Darren leaned against the panel, watching her with a quiet smile. "See, you are more than what they say you are, always have been." Valira felt something swell in her chest, pride, yes, but also something deeper, a sense of belonging, of worth. For the first time, she did not feel unwanted. That night, she spoke again to Darren, words trembling yet strong. "No one has ever stood beside me like you have. I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to thank me," he said simply. "Just continue being who you are. That is enough. That is more than enough." Valira watched the stars beyond the station, feeling a warmth she could not explain. She realized that she was not only surviving, she was thriving. And it was because someone, a human veteran, had refused to see her as anything less than herself. The galaxy outside was vast and indifferent, full of rumors and prejudice, full of species that judged her before they knew her. But inside the station, in the quiet moments between duty and danger, she had learned a new truth. Her worth was not determined by the galaxy. It was determined by her choices, and by those who chose to stand with her. As the station settled into a fragile quiet, Valira and Darren continued their watch. The stars burned cold and distant, but between them a spark of something stronger had begun. Something that could not be ignored, something the galaxy would soon notice. For the first time, Valira allowed herself to hope, not for the approval of others, but for the possibility that she could live as she chose. And with Darren at her side, she knew she could face anything the galaxy sent her way. The calm after the raider attack did not last long. Valira had hoped that the victory would quiet the whispers, that the respect earned in battle would shield her from the galaxy's judgments. She was wrong. Word traveled faster than she expected. Other stations and fleets learned of the battle, the story of a human veteran standing beside an alien of her species, defeating a fleet of raiders. Many were shocked, some were angry. Some could not believe a being so unwanted could play a key role in a victory. The first warning arrived as a message from the Galactic Council, routed through a secure channel. The screen flickered and a formal voice spoke, cold and precise. "Valira of the Urandra species, your actions with the human veteran Darren have caused confusion and concern. Your species is not considered suitable for partnership with other species outside assigned roles. Cease all activity with the human immediately or face consequences." Valira stared at the screen, fists tightening. She had expected resistance, yes, but she had not expected the council to intervene so quickly. Darren placed a hand on her shoulder, calm and steady. "We will respond," he said, "not with words alone, but with proof." Valira swallowed. "Proof? What can we do? They've already judged us. They've already decided my worth or lack of it." "Then we show them why those judgments are wrong," Darren replied. His eyes burned with determination. "We show them the truth." Over the next few days, Valira and Darren prepared. The station became a hub of activity. Systems were reinforced, training intensified, and simulations ran day and night. But this time, the preparation was not just for defense. It was for a demonstration of ability, of loyalty, of courage. Valira trained harder than ever. Darren pushed her, not because he doubted her, but because he knew the galaxy would. Every move she made, every skill she refined was a message to the universe. She was more than what they said she was. The first test came sooner than expected. A distress signal appeared on the station's sensors. A civilian transport had been ambushed by pirate raiders. Dozens of lives were at stake. The council could wait, the fleet could hesitate, but people were in danger. Valira felt the familiar surge of duty. "We go," she said, voice steady. "We save them." Darren nodded. "We go as a team together." The transport was not far. The station's ships moved swiftly, guided by Valira's sharp instincts and Darren's tactical knowledge. As they approached the site, the raiders were visible, small, fast ships moving with reckless precision, expecting an easy target. Valira's heart pounded. The lives of innocents rested on her decisions, yet she did not hesitate. She had trained for this. She had learned to trust Darren and herself, and now the galaxy was about to watch. The battle began with sudden intensity. Valira maneuvered her ship through narrow asteroid fields, dodging fire while keeping the transport in her sights. She coordinated with Darren over the comms, his voice calm, giving instructions that were precise and actionable. "Flank from the left," he said. "They will expect the right," Use the asteroids to mask your approach. Velira executed the move perfectly. The raiders were caught off guard, their ships colliding with debris, their formation breaking apart. She could feel the thrill of control, of skill, but also the weight of responsibility. Each decision she made could save or cost lives. The transport's crew watched in awe. Never had they seen someone move with such precision and courage. A human and an alien, working together seamlessly, had turned what should have been a massacre into a triumph. After the battle, the transport safely docked at the station. Survivors emerged, shouting gratitude, hugging their rescuers. For the first time, Velira felt recognition that was not forced, not out of duty, but genuine. Lives had been saved because of her and Darren. Even the council could not ignore this. A formal message arrived, but it carried a new tone, hesitation, respect, a reluctant acknowledgement. Velira and Darren, your actions in the rescue operation have been noted. The council requests a full report and explanation of your methods. Exceptional bravery is recognized. Velira stared at the screen. Recognition, real recognition, not pity, not fear, recognition. That night she and Darren stood on the observation deck, the black expanse of space stretching before them. Stars twinkled like distant fires, cold but beautiful. You did it, Darren said quietly. You showed them what they could not see. You are more than their rules. Velira shook her head. We did it, together, alone I could never have, her voice faltered. She had never said these words aloud, not to anyone. You could have, Darren said softly, but together you were unstoppable. That is what matters, not who they say you are, but who you choose to be. Velira's thoughts drifted to her species, long oppressed, long hidden. If a single action could challenge centuries of prejudice, then perhaps more could follow. Perhaps the galaxy could be changed, not by force, but by courage, skill, and choice. The next day, the station received visitors, representatives from nearby systems, curious about the reports of the daring rescue. Some came to see, some came to judge. But when they arrived, they saw the truth. Velira, the so-called unwanted alien, stood at the helm, directing operations with calm precision, while Darren, the human veteran, moved with ease at her side. Together, they embodied competence, courage, and partnership. Questions arose, murmurs spread through the visitors. Did she really lead the operation? Every look of doubt, every whispered judgment became fuel. She had spent her life proving herself in small ways, unnoticed. Now the galaxy was watching. Darren leaned close and whispered, "They will try to test you next. The council will send observers, perhaps even challengers. But you are ready. I have never doubted it." Velira's pulse quickened. She had never faced the galaxy openly before, always in shadows, always silent. But now she had a choice, to hide or to rise. The following weeks became a whirlwind of tests and challenges. The council sent small fleets to simulate attacks. Rival species sent emissaries to gauge her skill. Each time, Velira and Darren faced the challenge with precision and courage. The galaxy watched, and slowly respect replaced doubt. Even the whispers of fear and prejudice began to fade. When she acted not as a representative of her species, but as a being capable of choice, courage, and leadership. The human by her side amplified this truth. Together, they shattered expectations, rewrote assumptions, and changed the way others saw her kind. One evening, after another successful demonstration, Velira stood alone on the observation deck. Darren had gone to report to the station council. She gazed at the stars, thinking about the galaxy, her species, and the life she had led. She realized something profound. For the first time, she felt more than useful, more than wanted for duty or legacy. She felt human, though not in species, but in freedom. She felt the power of choice, of partnership, of recognition, and she knew that the galaxy, though slow and stubborn, could change. One act at a time, one choice at a time. Velira's thoughts returned to Darren, the human veteran who had stood beside her, not as a superior, not as a rescuer, but as an equal. He had given her something the galaxy could not, belief. Not in her species, not in her duty, belief in her. The turning point had come. She was no longer just a survivor, no longer just the unwanted. She was a force, a symbol, a challenge to centuries of prejudice, and she was ready for the galaxy to see it. As the stars sparkled outside, Velira smiled. The next battle, the next challenge, the next test, they would come. And when they did, she would be ready, not alone but with Darren at her side. Together they would show the galaxy that worth is not given by birth, rumor, or fear, but earned by courage, skill, and choice. The galaxy had underestimated her. It would not make that mistake again. The news of Valira's victory spread quickly. It moved faster than she ever imagined, through channels of the Galactic Council, whispers among trade fleets, and rumors in distant star systems. Some called her remarkable, others called her dangerous. Many questioned how a human veteran and a so-called unwanted alien could perform feats that seasoned fleets had failed to achieve. The first direct challenge arrived at dawn. A fleet from a rival system emerged near the station's orbit, armed and clearly hostile. Their message was short and threatening. The Urindra species has overstepped. The human accomplice is warned. Withdraw or face destruction. Valira felt her chest tighten, but not with fear. She had faced fear before countless times, but this was different. This was the galaxy itself testing her, and this time she would not hide. Darren joined her at the tactical console, calm as always. His presence was grounding, a reminder that she was not alone. "They want to test us," he said. "Let us show them exactly why they shouldn't doubt your kind or mine." The station's crew prepared for battle. Ships readied weapons, defensive shields hummed to life, and Valira ran simulations. Her species had strength, agility, and sharp instincts, but they had been underestimated for centuries. She intended to change that perception. The fleet approached, sleek and fast, attempting to intimidate. They expected hesitation, disorganization, fear. They expected to find weakness in an alien species that was supposedly expendable. They were wrong. Valira and Darren coordinated the station's defenses. Every move was precise. Every ship was positioned perfectly. Valira's instincts guided the fleet, while Darren's experience predicted the enemy's strategies. They became an unstoppable force, moving with harmony that confused and frightened the attackers. The first wave struck, but the station's defenses held. Valira directed fire with pinpoint accuracy, disabling multiple enemy ships within moments. Darren moved among the crew, repairing systems under fire and giving instructions that saved lives. Every time a raider tried to exploit a weakness, they found it blocked by the combined efforts of Valira and Darren. The enemy commander, observing from afar, realized their mistake. "They work as one. Impossible," he muttered. His fleet faltered, disarray spreading through their ranks. Valira felt the adrenaline surge. She could not allow hesitation. "Target their formation," she commanded. "Use the asteroids for cover. They will not expect it." The fleet moved like a single organism, dodging and attacking simultaneously. Ships collided, weapons misfired, and the enemy's plans crumbled under precise strikes. For the first time, the galaxy saw her species as more than tools. They saw her as a leader. They saw courage. They saw intelligence. They saw worth. Hours later, the battle ended. The enemy fleet retreated, damaged and humiliated. The station was intact, and the crew cheered. Valira's chest burned with exhaustion, but also pride. She had defended her home, her crew, and her species. She had proven herself not through fear, but through skill, courage, and choice. Darren approached her, his uniform streaked with soot and sweat. "You did it," he said quietly. "Every step of the way you led perfectly. The galaxy should be paying attention." Valira shook her head. "They won't, they never do, they always wait, always judge first, always doubt." "Then we make them watch," Darren said, eyes fierce. "We make them see not just your victory, but your worth." Over the next week, the station became a demonstration of what her species could do. They trained crews from other systems, ran drills, and led small missions that proved their capability. Each success sent ripples through the galaxy. Word reached the council again, this time with hesitation in the voices of the officials. "Valira, the Urindra, it seems your abilities are exceptional. Perhaps our assumptions require reconsideration." Valira allowed herself a small smile, though her focus never wavered. Recognition was not enough. Respect needed to be earned, and she would continue to earn it. Then came the test she had expected all along, a direct confrontation ordered by the council itself. A task force of their best ships, led by commanders who doubted her, approached the station. They brought with them an ultimatum: join their fleet as subordinates or face destruction. The council's tone was polite but firm. Their fleets were powerful, their weapons advanced. Many would have surrendered, many would have fled. Valira did not flinch. "We fight," she said, voice steady. "Not as subordinates, not as slaves, not as tools. We fight as equals. We fight for our choice." Darren placed a hand on her shoulder, silent support. "Then let's show them what choice looks like." The battle began with a sudden ferocity. Council ships fired, trying to intimidate, but Velira's fleet moved with precision unmatched. She anticipated attacks, countered them, and turned every maneuver into a lesson in strategy and strength. Darren coordinated secondary defenses, moving among crews to repair critical systems and prevent casualties. Every decision was methodical, calm, and deadly effective. Together, they outsmarted and outmaneuvered forces that were supposedly superior. As the battle progressed, Council commanders began to realize a truth they had long denied. Velira was not just an alien. They were facing a leader, a warrior, a force to be respected. And the human at her side? He did not follow, he did not dominate, he amplified her strength. At one point, a council ship attempted a risky maneuver to destroy the station. Velira saw it before they could act. With a precise command, she directed a squadron to intercept, neutralizing the threat without losing a single civilian ship. The move shocked the council forces. After hours of combat, the battle ended. The council fleet withdrew, their pride wounded, their assumptions shattered. Velira stood at the tactical console, breathing hard but steady. She had defended her station, her crew, and her species. She had proven her worth beyond question. The aftermath was profound. The galaxy began to shift its perception. Reports of her victories spread like wildfire. Other species who had doubted her now approached with caution, some with respect. Traders, mercenaries, and civilians alike began to see the Urindra species in a new light. For the first time, Velira felt something she had never allowed herself to feel: pride. Not just for herself, but for her people. For the first time, the galaxy could no longer dismiss them. That evening, Velira and Darren stood on the observation deck, watching the stars. The battle had left scars on the station, but it had also left a mark on the galaxy. "You've changed everything," Darren said softly. "Not by force, but by proving who you are. They can't ignore it." Velira looked at him, a mixture of gratitude and wonder in her eyes. You stood beside me when no one else would." "I did," Darren said simply. "And I always will, because worth isn't decided by fear or rumor. It's decided by action and by choice." She allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy outside the station was vast, still full of challenges and prejudice. But now she had proven that she and her kind could face it head-on, and she had a human by her side who would never look away. For the first time, Velira felt unstoppable, not because she had power, but because she had respect, recognition, and the freedom to act as she chose. The galaxy would remember this moment. The galaxy would remember her, and most importantly, she would never forget it.